Are you nervous?
No. You know how much I love you, right?
I love you too.
Come on, it's getting late.
The first shot is deflected by a tree. 3.5 seconds later the second shoot it pierced Kennedy's throat. It also hurts John Connally, Texas governor. 8.4 seconds later the third shoot occurs and Kennedy got shot on his head. The assassination of Kennedy is one of the most scandalous events of the 60s. It was a sad moment for a lot of persons in the United States of America, an event that would never be forgotten by the Americans. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, born on May 29, 1917, in Brookline, Massachusetts, was the 45th President of the United States. Ever since his youth, Kennedy had inherited his father's political ambitions. When he enrolled at the Harvard College, he became greatly interested in political philosophy. He published his senior thesis at Harvard as a book, titled, Why England Slept, a text which discussed Britain's failure to heed Churchill's warnings and meet the Nazi challenge. After his enrollment in Harvard, he joined the military forces, as the commander of a PT boat. And it was during his work at the military that he realized that he preferred writing about public affairs than managing them. With this in mind, he finally became U.S. President on January 20, 1961. Ever since his inaugural speech, he spoke of the need for all Americans to be active citizens.
People of America, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Together, we can fight the enemies of men, tyranny, poverty, and war itself. To people of America,
that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans.
He had come to the presidency as the child of wealth and privilege, as a World War II hero who had almost lost his life, as the winner of the closest of elections.
Not just the youngest elected, but also the first Catholic. And so that's another reason that he had to give a speech for the ages, a speech that would unite the country.
I didn't know you could be a president of the United States and not have gray hair.
During his government, Kennedy met with many problems. One of the things that he worried about the most was the possibility of nuclear war between the United States and the Soviet Union. Since World War II, there had been a lot of anger and distrust between the two countries, mainly because of the struggle between the Soviet Union's communist system of government and the United States' democratic system. Another issue with the Soviet Union was the space race. Kennedy was the first president to ask the Congress for $1 billion for Project Apollo, and with that began a competition that would last for years.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is Houston, AOS, over. Houston, Columbia, Gate, over.
President Kennedy dealt with problems among the United States too. The biggest of them was the racial discriminations. Even though the Supreme Court had ruled in 1954 that segregation was no longer permitted, it existed, especially in southern states. Thousands of Americans joined together to protest to these injustices, and many of them, though that Kennedy wasn't supportive enough in this matter. Americans resented Kennedy for not doing enough to end the discrimination, until he proposed a new civil rights bill to the Congress, and went on television asking Americans to end racism.
While this year it may be a Catholic against whom the finger of suspicion is pointed, in other years it has been, and may someday be again, a Jew. Because I am a Catholic, and no Catholic has ever been elected president, today I may be the victim, but tomorrow it may be you. Until the whole fabric of our harmonious society is ripped apart at a time.
Another of the problem that surged during Kennedy's presidency was the Cuban Missile Crisis. Kennedy was shown on October of 1962 photos of an intermediate-range ballistic missile sites by the Soviets localized in Cuba. The president feared its actions would lead to a nuclear war with the Soviet Union, but still he announced full quarantine in Cuba, a military blockade that would prevent Soviets from going into or leaving the country without being inspected. Finally, other of Kennedy's biggest external issues was the situation with Vietnam. After his presidency began, Kennedy accelerated the flow of American aid to South Vietnam, but the situation did not change. The fact that the situation did not improve made Kennedy uneasy.
Now we're having an interview with the President Kennedy. It is true that you're planning on withdrawing all American troops from Vietnam?
I think this is a civil war between Vietnam. They have to choose where to join or fight against communism. We can send them weapons or people to advise, but this is their own war. They have to win it by themselves. It is not, actually. I don't support the people who say we have to withdraw. We made this effort to defend Europe many years ago. Now Europe is a quite secure country. We need to participate, even if people don't like it, in the defense of Asia.
The life of Kennedy was turmoil of internal and external political problems, and all these issues remained unsolved after his sudden assassination in Dallas, Texas, on November 22, 1963. So, what was it? The president's plans for Vietnam? A politician differing from Kennedy's point of view? Who was it that really killed Kennedy? This being said, let's try to unveil the truth about Kennedy's assassination. According to the theory that blames him, he was only used as a scapegoat by the CIA, whose economic interest and political management were the major reasons for the Kennedy's conspiracy to be carried on. Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested approximately 70 minutes after Kennedy was murdered for shooting a Dallas police officer, J.D. Tippit.
Shit, I felt. Good shot.
Are you ready, Mr. President?
I don't think I ever been ready.
Don't worry, I've got your back.
But well, I trust you.